So if you could just identify yourself. So Maria Glaybeck can record.
Jean Newell.
Jean Newell, okay. We've got Terry.
Terry.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have one other person.
And that's Cy Bailey.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, great, Cy Bailey, thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's see, we called the meeting to order. We have the minutes of August 12th to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes of August 12th.
I'll second that. It's Geraldine.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have warrants 5, the payroll 5P, Conservation Commission number 1, and Reappraisal Fund number 1. What would you like to do?
I'll make a motion to approve bills for payment, warrants 5, 5P, Conservation Commission number 1, and Reappraisal number 1. This is Terry.
I'll second that. This is Geraldine.
Okay, is there any discussion? Warrant 5 is for $22,361.61. Just under 15,000 went for gravel crushing, and then there were highway department repairs and supplies, tires and fuel, and the usual other things we pay for. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Now, Cy Bailey from the Vermont Department of Property Valuation and Review has joined us. And I got in touch with him to ask him what other towns were doing regarding reappraisals, and was looking for advice from him and his views and opinions. So, Cy, if you want to, you have the microphone.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone, and hello, Jean.
Hi.
My name is Cy Bailey. I'm the district advisor for Dummerston and the Windham and Windsor County area. I am also the senior assessor for the for property valuation and review. Just to give you a little background of what I do and what I have done, I've worked as a revaluation contractor for probably about 15 years, done about 40 to 50 reappraisals, if not more, have been with property valuation and review for about 9 years now. And I am very familiar with Dummerston. I've been working with the Dummerston listers for, I don't know, I would guess probably 6 or 7 years. Our feeling, and I'll start with, PVR recommends that you continue with your reappraisal. We all understand these are not ideal conditions. You're not going to get the perfect job this time around, but you have to understand that you never get the perfect job. I'm sure NIMRIC has explained to you that they typically get into, and I may be off by a couple percent, but on a good project, they usually get into 65% of the houses. And I hope that's the number that they have given you when you've talked to them.
No,
And I'm sorry.
it wasn't the number they gave us.
No, they gave us around 30 to 40%, I believe.
30, really? Well, they're not doing it. The trend is, it is trending down, the number of houses that revaluation contractors get into, mostly because people are working. So in the COVID world, if someone goes to the porch and knocks on the door, most likely they're going to find someone at home to talk to them. So if they're telling you it's 30 to 40%, well, you're doing much better talking to people, but you're not seeing the inside of the houses. One of the good things is that you have your records from before, so you know generally what the house was like 12, 14 years ago. And it's unusual for the quality of the house to change. I mean, the way it's put together, that's not going to change. It's the condition, number of rooms, bathrooms, things of that sort, finished basements, that you don't know about. You've got to get that information. And you can do a pretty good job of that at the door. And you're going to get better information today than your old information. So you're already ahead of the game. You have better information today, and they've only done half the town, I assume, than you had when they started, because you have the old information plus what they've supplemented with their inspections that they've done so far. I was telling in my conversation with Zeke, do I have the name right?
Yep.
Yeah. I was telling him one of the things that personally concerns me when you do a reappraisal, or when you have a reappraisal that's gone stale, the data is no longer great. You don't know the condition of the inside. You don't know how many bathrooms. You don't know how many finished basements, how much finished basements. What concerns me is the people that are on the margins, the people that can barely afford their house. And I'm talking about the young couples, the people who've been laid off, the 85-year-old woman that's on Social Security and barely eking by. And I have 12-year-old information, and I'm producing my tax bills with that 12-year-old information, and they may be paying too much. And now I've got the revaluation contractors in, and I find out that, well, maybe the person that has the $150,000 house really only has a $120,000 house. You know, and you can tell from the outside and with the interview that things have declined, and that's what worries me the most. Those people, I'm very concerned that I'm taking their money that they shouldn't be paying. They're not paying their fair share. We all worry about the big $2 million house and them not paying their fair share, but what's very important to me is the people that are on the margins, and you can take care of those people in that situation. And let's say that they complete the reappraisal, and there are people that are not happy. This is too high. They come into a grievance and say, well, this is too high. You haven't been in. Well, they can always bring pictures and evidence to tell you that it's too high, and you can most likely make a good judgment and an adjustment if that's needed. If people are concerned, they can produce some evidence, and it's not a real burden on them. They can take their camera and snap a picture of the kitchen or the bathroom, and you're not invading their privacy very much, and they'll be able to get their point across. So that's kind of how I personally feel about it. And in general, like I said, PVR hopes that you will keep on working, because I think if you decide, let's say you decided to stop for a year.
So,
Nothing
Cy, can I stop you for just a sec? I
Sure,
think
go right ahead.
when I heard Zeke introduce you, it was to help us understand what other towns are doing, and I wonder if you have some information about that before you launch into the next part.
Sure. We've talked to a couple towns, and I've talked to several different reappraisal contractors, and they are going forward. I don't know of a town, there may be one, but I don't know of one that's suspended operations yet. that has
And-
said, no, I don't want to go forward. I'm
Right.
going to wait until there's a vaccine.
Right. And so are the towns that are moving forward, are they having discussions about it? Was there any concern?
I know there was concern in one town, and I had talked to another district advisor, and their concerns were very similar to yours. But the district advisor I talked to maybe 5 days ago, and I don't know if they've had an opportunity to talk to the town, so I don't know the result of those conversations.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you remind me who you actually work for and what PVR stands for?
Property Valuation and Review, and we're the real estate section of the Department of Taxes.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess I'd be happy to answer any of your questions and concerns. You've heard a bit of my spiel, but I'd really like to know how I can help you.
Well, the one issue is that the fact that these property reevaluations are only done every 12 years or so, 10 or 12 years. So if you do it now and you get it wrong, you're locked in for a long time. That is a concern of mine. Other than the fact that the approach that this evaluation company is taking, it seems to me to be a flawed approach. In that they rely very significantly on external reviews.
And so, David, let me clarify that. Do I hear you saying that you have one concern that's related to COVID and our current situations, that it might not be as good as it could be, and then we're going to be stuck with it for 10 years. But the other concern you have is generally the appraisal process is a flawed process overall.
Correct. That's my view, yes.
Okay, because I think that second, the latter, we need to set that aside because we're not going to change the system itself by delaying. So I think that has to be set aside, and we're just talking about whether we're going to do it now and whether that's going to serve us well, or whether it's really important for us to pause it. Do you agree with that?
You're asking David, or you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking
Scott?
David. I'm asking David.
Okay.
Well, it depends. It depends how long you pause it. If you're gonna pause it until people are willing to let the appraisers into their house, that's one thing. If you're just pausing it for a short period of time, then that might not do us any good at all.
No, but you're saying you don't agree with the whole system of appraisal.
That's right, yes.
And so I'm saying we need to set that aside.
And the reason I don't is that the system does not include internal review. I mean, they're moving forward in an approach that does not include interior inspections of the property.
Any other questions for Cy?
Well, there's one thing I would like to say, and that is part of my job and the job of my department is to, at the end of these projects, is determine whether they are accurate. And we do what's called an equalization study every year. And what we do is we compare the sale price of properties to the listed value of properties. So in Dummerston right now, your assessments, your aggregate assessments are at 104%. And the level of error, or the COD, is about 12, which is within an acceptable range. But there are tests that we do to make sure that you are close to 100%. You know, of course, these things are, and my guess is Dave has a background in real estate or banking and understands how appraisals work. But what we're doing here is we're trying to be fair to everyone in town. We're doing a mass appraisal, and we do test for errors. And if there are errors, we sit down and talk to the towns and help them fix it, or command them to fix it sometimes.
Okay.
But those assessments, that's on the aggregate, they're accurate. The question is, what are they within, you know, what are they for individual properties? In the aggregate, yeah, I can see, you can test that and find out, yeah, we're within 1% or whatever.
Exactly. And we also do quartile measurements and things of that sort. And we're looking at categories also. So we'll look at all of the houses with less than 6 acres. We'll look at all the mobile homes. We'll look at the farms. We'll look at the commercial properties and determine we'll equalize those values also. We'll determine what the sales ratios are. And that number that I said was the COD that tells us how far from the median you are. The higher that number is, and a good number is 8 to 12, 8 to 10. A not so bad number is from 11 to 13 or 14. And then if we have a COD that's higher than that, we know that we're not hitting the assessments on a regular basis. We're getting very far away from what the mean is. So there's a relatively accurate system of measuring these reappraisals.
Paul.
And
yes, go ahead, Si.
Well, I did want to speak to delaying it a little. You started the reappraisal, I believe, a year ago, last July. I think I'm right there, and Jean's here, and she can correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct.
Now, they've been working for a year, and that's about, let's assume that they've done half the town.
Yeah.
So they looked at a house in a year ago today. If you prolong that, so they have to go another almost a year. And if you delay it a year, so that means we're going to be that data that they collected originally, the first house that they looked at, that information is going to be 3 years old by the time they get to use it. So there's a very good chance that can be dated. So you're almost, I wouldn't say you're wasting your effort, but there's the possibility that you're really, I guess not even the possibility, that you can be guaranteed that some of your data is really going to be dated if you prolong this. And if it's dated, it's wrong, and it means that, somebody else is paying somebody's share. And like I told you before, that's what really concerns me, is the fairness of all this.
Right. We discussed this at our previous meeting, and because some houses had been had a walkthrough inspection, not very many, and we talked among ourselves, and if we were to go ahead with just an external inspection, then we were going to ask NEMRIC to redo those first houses with just the external inspection with a different appraiser doing that, just so everyone was on the same level playing field.
Oh, very good idea.
Paul Normando is former select board member and on the board of abatement. Paul, you wanted to ask a question or make a comment?
Well, I'd like to make a comment on what Cy, you mentioned two things that concerned me. One was that you mentioned that we have a CLA of 104 and we have a COD of 12. And you said that those were acceptable on a grand scheme of things. So it would seem to me that if you postpone your reappraisal, that you're really not jeopardizing the town, and you're not violating the rules that the state sets up in terms of requiring to do a reappraisal. You also mentioned that if you delay, that you will not be getting that your information will get stale. Well, if you don't get into the houses, the interior of the houses, you don't have the information that's happened in the last 12 years where people have upgraded their property. Different houses have sold and new people have come in and bought them and may have made improvements over the last 10 or 12 years. So if the goal is to have an equitable reappraisal, it seems to me you've got to get inside and you've got to examine those properties. Some may have deteriorated, as you mentioned. Some may, but I venture to say that probably more will have improved over the last 12 years. And not only is the state grand list in jeopardy, so to speak, is on the line, it's the municipal grand list is also on the line, and it affects the tax rate that the local people will be paying. And what you want to have is a fair system where everybody is paying their fair share. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Cy?
Well, I guess I have a question. So my understanding is that NEMRIC has a requirement for their assessors that they can't go into houses during the COVID time. Is that true?
They have set up policy that they will not go in. The governor has, told us that we have to maintain safe distances, we have to wear masks. CDC has set up policies as to, how we should all act in public to prevent the disease from spreading. I will tell you so NEMRIC does have their protocols. The other companies are following suit. I will tell you, I just read an article yesterday, and it was discussing Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae policies. These are the companies that buy mortgages and dictate the rules as to how the appraisals are done for these mortgages. And I believe they are adjusting their policies so their appraisers on some, in most situations is what I'm gathering, are not going into houses. They are not requiring them to go in. And this is relatively new. I just read this within the last day or two.
Well, they're not.
So this is something we all have to deal with. As I said before, this is certainly not a perfect situation. Excuse me.
Sorry. Hi, this is Terry Chapman. So we received a letter from Ed Clodfelter then on August 17th, where he was going over all this, and one part he says, after getting the initial inspections completed and the data entered, we can then spend our time doing interior inspections. I would suspect this would be after January. Of course, this presumes that the pandemic will allow us to continue, and he's directing the listers to send postcards to property owners letting them know about their continuing interior inspections and to post the information on the website. So based on what you're hearing, would that be old news now and incorrect?
No, that would not be old news.
So we could assume possibly that they could do interior inspections after into January, as in January?
Well, it's all speculation. None of us know. None of us know what's going to happen.
Well,
if there's a vaccine in the next four months, that's a possibility. But if there isn't one, maybe not.
Right now, Cy, we're in the middle of changing over our cable company, and just about I have an appointment here on Friday, and I think most of us have either been changed over or going to be changed over, and the only way really to do this is to let them in their houses. So people are willing to go into the houses to get their cable and their internet done. So, it's an interesting ballgame we're in right now.
So
it certainly is.
Maybe we have NEMRIC appraisers, have a coil of wire over their shoulder and a pair of overalls, and
they can go right on in. They'll get a good inspection.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's
or
never.
we hire Comcast to finish this appraisal.
What? I'm sorry.
So,
Zeke, say again.
I was saying maybe we hire Comcast to do this appraisal.
Yeah, I had them in my house for 3 hours today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
there you go.
I don't understand. I mean, it seems to me that if the operative thing is interior inspections, it's NEMRIC's protocol, not the state. The state is not saying that assessors can't go into houses. It's NEMRIC that's saying that. And I think that that's not acceptable to Dummerston.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
And we know that there will be less people that will allow them in, but we also know that there are more people home. And so when you knock on somebody's door, you're much more likely to get somebody to, because you say people are at work. Well, they're at work at their houses. So they're home and they can have conversations. I mean, my modus operandi is to trust that people are going to, in a conversation, if they're not going to let somebody in a conversation, they're going to answer questions honestly. That's what I'm going to assume for the most part, for most people. But if NEMRIC didn't have that protocol, there would be the possibility of a lot more interior inspections.
Mm-hmm.
There would be, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't let them into my house.
But that's fine. We can't make a decision based on an individual. We have to think about it as the broad town. And if
Exactly,
it's not acceptable to Dummerston to go forward with appraisal where the appraisers are not allowed to go into the houses.
Great.
I read Ed's letter as saying they have a lot of background work and office work and the exterior inspections that will keep them busy for a few months to come. and that maybe by January, perhaps things will have changed and interior inspections could then proceed. I guess my feeling is that they continue with the work that they can do, and we see how the landscape, the virus landscape is in a couple of months.
And so suspend the visits for now, Zeke?
Well, they have suspended the visits, and what they're doing now is, and what we just, paid a bill for is the work that they can do.
Preparing.
That takes place online or through the records, and Jean, or Cy could probably speak to what they would be doing, but and that's work that has to be done whether they are inspecting, the interiors or not.
Mm-hmm. So, Jean, is it true to say that the property inspections have been paused?
They have been paused. I mean, interior inspections.
No,
We're still getting everything ready for them to go out, and they've been asking for different roads. So I really think you would have to talk with Nate in regard to the inspections of the property, because I believe that they have been to some houses and left the cards.
yeah, I don't think that's stopped, Zeke.
Yeah, but I don't think they're doing interior inspection.
Oh, no, I know they're not allowed to do it from NEMREC.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to do
They're still
it.
doing, maybe leaving cards, but doing the perhaps the exterior inspections.
Yeah, and the exterior inspection, from my understanding of everything we've been told, is the most important, is the bulk of the information. I mean, they don't typically do a lot of measurements inside. All the measurements are taken, most of the measurements are taken outside, and it's the outside inspection part that is the biggest part, and the interior inspection is, part of it, but the bulk of the assessment is on the outside. That's my understanding from what Ed said and what Cy is saying.
Yeah, okay. And I believe that is continuing.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions or comments? Paul?
Just a question, Zeke, as to, and maybe you're going to ask the same question, is what is the select board's feelings about going on pause?
We were discussing pausing, and Ed sent us a letter that said, the interior inspections are paused, but they want to continue with all the office work or non-interior inspection work that needs to be done for an appraisal. And then they're hopeful that indeed throughout January is a time when perhaps they might be able to resume interior inspections. But that, as someone has said, is speculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
So are we going to have a vote on how the select board feels about pausing?
Define pausing for me.
Well, I guess it's to stop what they're doing right now, other than the back office work, but going out to houses and talking with people. isn't, they're already on pause for the interior.
What's wrong with I don't understand what would be wrong with talking with people.
Well, I'm just asking, what is the position of the select board on the process going forward? I'm not clear on what we're saying about the reappraisers. What are they going to be doing?
Okay. What are members' thoughts on this? Okay, my thought is that they continue with everything other than the interior inspections for now and continue working on that.
This is Maria. I agree with you, Zeke. It's not ideal, but I don't think we have. I don't think we have a choice.
Okay, there's 2 members.
This is Sheri. As much as I hate to say it, I agree with you two, both Maria and Zeke, and then see where we are when it comes to January if we can't get some interiors done.
Okay,
So, yeah, this is Carolyn. So I agree with that. I would also like to know if there's a possibility that NEMREC could change their protocols. I'd rather have somebody come in my house now in a safe way than in January in 3 feet of snow where they have to take their boots off. I hope they bring their slippers with them. But you know, I'd like to be able to pressure NEMREC in terms of their protocols, but I don't have any. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're right, Geraldine. This is the best time to do interior inspections when people still have their windows open, you're not using air conditioning, and you know, you're not slogging through snow. So this would be ideal.
Or maybe the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Right. David?
Well, it's unlikely they're going to change their policy. They're doing a number of evaluations in Vermont, reevaluations, and this is their policy. I don't think they're going to change it for Dummerston, actually.
How do you know that?
I don't. I think we should ask.
Say that. Do you have any idea?
None whatsoever. I think we should ask. I think we should ask to see if they're willing to do it.
Okay.
I'd like to pressure them, not just ask. I would like to.
Yeah. Well, so on what kind of pressure do you propose? I mean,
well, I mean, it just is, you know, yeah. I mean, it's just I'd like to be strategic about it and not go in with the assumption that they're not going to change it. That's all. Well,
if you're considering canceling the contract, that would be pressure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, but we can cancel the contract, but we would then be out what we have paid for and the work that they have done so far.
And that's what's known in economics as a sunk cost.
Yes, exactly.
It is irrelevant.
But I mean, we didn't get a lot of information about what other towns are doing. And so if other towns have a similar feeling, that's, you know, that's a little more pressure. If we could talk with other towns who have a similar perspective, and there were 3 or 4 towns that pressured NEMREC. It's not a state protocol. It's, you know, real estate people can go into houses with 20 people.
Either that or give them the number to Comcast and they can go in the same time that they do the cable over.
Right. Okay. So does anyone want to get in touch with Ed and run that idea past him? Or make that proposal rather than...
So Ed is the person that, the NEMREC person that we would talk with?
Yes, yes, and I can never remember how to say his name.
Ed K. Yeah, it's good enough, I think.
Clodfelter.
Claude
Claude.
Felton. Oh, it's a C, I guess.
That's always better than what it's about to come out of my mouth.
I would be glad to call Ed and talk with him.
Okay, everyone good with that? Maria, Terry?
Yes.
Okay, resounding yes there. Okay, all right, so if you'll do that, Geraldine, and let us know,
Sure.
or you can ask him to, respond, have a discussion, but ask for him to respond in writing to us.
Yeah, you did that before. That was very helpful. Yeah,
Yes.
that was great.
Okay,
And David, I think you're probably right, but
Worth a try.
yeah, it's worth a try, exactly.
Okay.
Um,
Any other last questions for Cy? Or any more discussion about this topic right now?
This is Maria. So Geraldine, are you going to be putting pressure on Ed to completely suspend this? I guess I'm not clear what.
No, I'm gonna ask Ed what possibility there might be, or what would be the I'm not quite sure. I'm going to ask him about the protocol that NEMRC has set for their assessors to not be able to go into houses, that's their protocol. They don't allow them in the houses right
So
now.
you're gonna talk to him about protocol, not pressuring to basically void our contract.
Oh, no. I'm not going to talk about the contract at all. I'm just going to
Okay.
ask, how was it that they set that protocol? Who sets it? I don't know anything really about NEMRC and how they're organized and, where
So-
he sits in the authority of things. I just, I'll do a little information gathering first about this protocol that they have of not allowing people in houses.
Okay. And so you're going to be letting him know that people have been letting Comcast people in.
Thank you, Zeke.
And that with the windows open and, this might be a better time than the dead of winter.
I'm taking notes. Good.
Okay, great. Okay. All right.
Does that answer your question, Maria?
Yes, it did. Yep.
Good. Yeah, I don't want to make anybody worried.
Yeah, don't pull the plug on anything.
I'm never gonna listen, I'm the one that's ready to let this go forward. I mean, I think the outside inspection is the more important part, but.
I'm leaning towards that too. But I get the sense that maybe.
Yeah, but I respect
I'm
other
not the
people's.
majority here. Yeah. Okay, great. Any other thoughts? Okay. Thank you very much, Cy, for joining us and sharing that information with us.
Very good. Thank you very much for letting me speak. Talk to you soon.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Okay. Any last thoughts on reappraisal? Everyone ready to go into curb cuts? And all right. So we do. Okay. Well, before we get to curb cuts, let's see. Lori sent Lee's report around to us. Anything there you want to discuss? Okay.
You're talking about curb cuts or covered bridge steps?
No. Lori sent Lee's report.
No.
Okay. Then we've got the covered bridge steps. And we've gotten some information, a letter back from the Conservation Commission. Did we get anything back from the town attorney?
No, I didn't hear back from the town attorney nor from the the state,
VLCT?
well, the person that assesses, does valuations of
Yeah.
potential, that, I forget what they call that. again.
Passive.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So no, I didn't hear back from either one of them. We thought maybe they're on vacation or something. But I will get back in touch. Try to get them.
Sure. Try again.
The Conservation Commission did a very nice job on putting their report together. Very well thought out, and I thought.
Right. So let's see. At our last meeting, the sense was we were just about ready to send Lee down with the loader and tear those steps out of there. What are people's feelings now? Any thoughts on?
I don't think we can do that. I think that reading the Conservation Commission's report, it starts out with talking about how important a recreational area it is, that people enjoy it and so forth, and to preserve it as a recreational area is in keeping with what Vermont is all about. And so I think that their approach, their suggestions are well-founded and it can provide a safe environment, a safe place. And they do say that they're really tabling it in essence until the spring. That's the season for using the beach is to come to an end.
Mm-hmm. So one of their suggestions was a sign, well, without counsel from our attorney.
Yeah, we can't do it.
Going on the assumption here, but maybe a sign saying, caution, use these steps at your own risk or something. And then getting back in with the Conservation Commission and see about repairing these steps and making them, and doing some of the work that they suggested.
Yeah.
Does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll get to the attorney.
Wait, it's just not you and me. We've got to get other people.
Okay, pardon me.
So this is Maria, and I just as soon see them pulled out.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's just
I would too.
Yep.
I definitely think we need a sign up there at the time, but I'd really like to hear back from Passive and the town attorney as to what they think before we go ahead with anything besides a sign of warning.
Yeah. Geraldine, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we're not ready to make a decision because we need to hear back. We haven't gotten all the information.
Okay. Where would we get a sign saying, how do we go about getting a sign? Any ideas?
When these steps originally went in, it was the Conservation Commission that took this on. I don't know where they came up with the funding, but at the time they agreed that they would take care of everything. So I think that it should be up to the Conservation Commission to
throw the ball back in their court.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm good with that. So, David, could you approach them and see if they could come up with a sign, just warning people?
You want us to do that before we hear from the town attorney?
Okay.
Good
question. Okay, let me revise that. You want to get back in touch with the town attorney and let them know that we're still waiting and checking with Passive again?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then maybe we do something.
Right.
Okay, does that sound reasonable? We approach the attorney and passive again and see what they have to say. Everyone okay with that?
Mhm. Yep, I am.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good, good. All right, great. Now we can go to the curb cut. And I don't have it right in front of me, so I don't know. Let's
I
see.
do, Zeke. This is a curb cut for the East Here residents on Cemetery Road. And Lee's all set with it, except with the note, the driveway does need a driveway culvert, 18 by 20 inch plastic new.
Okay. What would you like to do, members?
I'll make a motion.
Whoops.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the curb cut for the East Here residents on Cemetery Road with the distinction of placing a driveway culvert in.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? I think the town actually supplies the culvert for the end of the driveway, but be that as it may. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. So Terry, could you get that back to the town office, or let Lori know or Lee know?
Yeah, I've got it. I can sign it, and if I can't get it through my computer system right now, I can drop it off tomorrow.
Okay, great, good. Okay, under correspondence for information, is there anything there you'd like to discuss? We did get a notice that there'll be a DRB hearing on the gravel pit. This is just a review on September 15th.
I didn't understand what that was for. I wanted to ask about it, but I didn't see it on here.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember which agency it is, but they require a review or part of the conditional use permit for a gravel pit there. And David, you probably know this, required reviews every couple of years.
Right.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, they have to make sure the town is still in favor, but everything's all right with the town.
Yeah, everything.
It's part of the Act 250.
Yes, Act 250. That's what I was trying to remember. Yes, all the conditions that were set by Act 250 are still being followed and adhered to.
Yep.
So that's, and anything that the DRB set as a condition are still being followed through.
Right.
No.
Does a member of the select board need to be there, or will Lee be there?
I would think Lee would be there. I would expect Lee to be there. I mean, we could ask Lee to be there.
Yeah.
I'll let Lee know. I'm going to be there because it's going to be held at the community center at 7, and I'm going to let him in and let him out.
Great. Good. Thank you, Terry, for doing that. Okay. Let's see. I don't have anything under correspondence for discussion and or action, which brings us to new business. And I guess we hashed out the reappraisal portion of that. Geraldine's going to talk with Ed, whatever his last name is, and let us know. Ruth Barton has resigned as our senior solutions representative. So I guess we could have a motion to accept her resignation. Although I don't know if that would make any difference to Ruth.
I'll make a motion to accept Ruth Barton's resignation as the senior solutions representative.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? I guess she's been the representative for I don't know how many years. But
does it deserve some kind of letter of appreciation?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe
Now-
our select board assistant could draft something up.
I was thinking the select board scribe, but yes, that'd be good. Someone to write. Who would like to write a note to? Even a card would be nice. I'll do it. I guess.
I'll do it.
I mean,
I've got a thank you card here. I can send her out a thank
All
you
right.
for your service.
I was thinking I could, not even spend the stamp. I could just stuff it in their mailbox after the postal service goes by.
No, I can handle the stamp.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you, Terry. So Carol Lynch is willing to become the new senior solutions representative. What would you like to do there?
I'll make a motion to appoint Carol Lynch as the senior solutions representative.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Well, typically we invite somebody in for a little interview before appointing somebody. Is there a reason why does everybody know Carol Lynch enough that we don't need that?
Geraldine, when Ruth told me she was going to be resigning, they had kind of talked to Carol already, and they've run her through the, what's expected. And she's been working with Senior Solutions and doing that. So I actually had a long conversation regarding Senior Solutions with Carol, and she's more than willing. They've already been having her do stuff. So, I'm quite comfortable that she definitely knows about it. She's used Senior Solutions, and I'm quite comfortable that she'd be a good fit.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of appointing Carol Lynch?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
I'll let Carol know.
Great. Thank you, Terry. We have a vendor license from application from Sheri Bolster for October 10th and October 11th at the Covered Bridge parking lot. What would you like to do?
I'll make a motion to approve the vendor's license for Sheri Bolster for the Covered Bridge on October 10th and October 11th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay. Any discussion? Oh, wait. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Any discussion?
I didn't see that come through. So that was an email that we got?
Yes, Lori sent us a copy of her the application that she has to fill out.
Okay, what is Sheri selling?
I think
Chocolate?
Chocolate.
Okay, great. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I've got a copy of this too, Zeke. I'll sign it, and if it won't go through the computer system, I'll send it over with a curb cut.
Great. Okay, thanks, Terry. Okay, is there any other new business you'd like to discuss? Anything?
The only thing is I ran into the census worker today, and just a reminder, if anybody in Dummerston that hasn't done the census, please do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. There's the chime again, I think.
There's a chime, yes.
Yeah.
Are we still set for a budget work session next week at 7 p.m. at the 9-2 on Wednesday at 7 at the community center?
As far as I know.
What is the protocol for indoor meetings in terms of masks and distancing and so forth?
Well, the room is pretty large, so we could all easily be 6 feet apart, and I mean, we can all wear masks if that's fine. I don't have a problem myself with it. So, and I can open a window and air it out a little bit. But the room is not being used. It has not been used. But I will make sure that before we go in there, I clean the tables and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we should definitely wear masks. And I think David's question also begs how many other people might be there. I mean, I really don't think that there are going to be crowds, but we should at least talk about what we would do if there were, like, how many is too many?
Yeah. And how are they going to be, the wrong word, policed, but how are they going to be vetted as they come in? You know,
Well, we should have the protocol of what's expected on
Yeah.
the agenda. You know, any
okay, good. Yeah.
members of the public who want to attend this need to follow the following protocol.
Yeah.
And I think we decided that we were, well, what about, oh, it's a work session, so BCTV isn't involved. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
For me, it would be better if we did it 6:30 to 7:30 as opposed to 7 to 8. But I don't know if people are open to changing the time at this late date.
I'm okay with changing the time, but I probably, you know, the apple harvest has begun. So, you know, I might phone in to someone's phone and go over the, you know, that.
You mean you could be there in person at 7, but not 6:30?
You know, it's still a gamble for me to be there at 7.
Oh.
So moving it to 6:30 is fine with me, but I'll either be there or I'll call in, if I could call in on someone's phone.
You can call in on mine, Zeke.
Okay, if that's okay. Yeah, great.
How do people feel about 6:30?
It's fine with me.
That's fine.
Maria?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's do 6:30 to 7:30.
Is there any benefit to minimize the amount of time we actually have to spend in an enclosed space altogether? Is there any way of getting some of the information out prior to the meeting that we can review? Would that make sense at all?
I think the best review is to review the budget that was passed at town meeting, you know, the town report.
Yeah.
Generally, we go through this. You know, other members can give their 2 cents, but usually this is sort of a discussion on what we might anticipate, or you know, increases that we might anticipate, or changes, or you know, a change to the process of making the budget, or
So this is our first meeting, right?
yeah.
And David, you haven't been through a budget process yet? Yeah.
Not on the town.
So I think our first meeting is different than, you know, as we move forward. Once we move forward, yes, then, you know, Maria typically sends us an updated spreadsheet with the numbers in it. And we're just sort of, you know, beginning our roadway here into this work. So,
Okay. Understood.
yeah, I think we're just orienting ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah, I see this just like we did last year. This is more of an organizational, just, you know, sort of plan a schedule, how we want to approach it. We're not going to sit and hash out numbers. I don't see. I don't see that. So.
Okay.
Organizational. That's the right word, Maria. That's what I was trying to.
And so if we bring our town report books, will that be useful? I mean, what will we look at?
I'll send out all the worksheets prior,
Okay.
but I mean, they're going to be, the column that we're going to normally work on is going to be blank.
Perfect.
That's,
Yep. That's fine.
I'll send out the worksheet.
Okay, and then people can print it out if they.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria.
Great. Okay. Any other new business or future agendas? Or okay.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Great.
I'll second that.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye all.